13. This is breaking news.
Good afternoon. We have some breaking news about the Seattle mayoral race. Mayor Bruce Harrell speaking publicly for the first time since Fox 13 and others projected challenger Katie Wilson to be the winner.
Now, this is technically a city announcement in his capacity as mayor, but we expect him to address the election. Let's listen in together.
My remarks. I'm standing, of course, with my lovely wife, Joanne, and I want to... I, of course, want to thank all of you for being here with me today. I just spoke with Mayor-elect Katie Wilson to congratulate her on a hard-fought victory. I let her know that our team is standing by to make noise in the background. I let her know that our team is standing by to begin the transition work without hesitation, and that I look forward to welcoming her to City Hall in the near future, and I wish her well, and it was a very delightful conversation. So I feel very good about that conversation, and I feel very good about the future for this country and this city still. That is the attitude we have to have, and I hope that everyone that can hear the sound of my voice feels the same. I've said repeatedly that this job does not belong to one person. It certainly didn't belong to me. You know, I simply borrowed the title of the mayor to enjoy a wonderful opportunity to serve the public. And it's been my absolute honor, the honor of my lifetime, to serve in this role. Now, for you history buffs, I do want to remind you that I was both the 54th and the 57th mayor of this city of Seattle. I won my full credit for those 5 days in 2017. And I want to ground this in a quote that I think is very apropos. Don't fear failure. It's not failure, but low aim. That's the crime. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. And I ask those that are thinking about public service, those who are in public services, those that are in private sector, and whatever you do, aim high. And you will never fail. You will learn. I have to tell you, this morning I spoke with our mayor's office, and I spoke with our cabinet members, and I have to tell you that I'm so grateful for the team we've built here in the mayor's office and in our cabinet. I mean, phenomenal human beings. The caliber of service-driven leaders who come together every single day to simply do things for others. It's been my honor to serve them. They always seem to put the needs of the city first. They are not politically motivated, driven by human power, human emotion, intellect, creativity, innovation, mission-driven. In the 16 years of public service that I've given Seattle, I've made, by the way, exactly 16 mistakes. One each year. Unfortunately, it's the same mistake every year, and that mistake is every year I wanted to deliver a speech, or particularly the State of the City speech, I actually wanted to rap it. I wanted to spit a rhyme. I wanted to unleash it. But I was smartly overruled. My wife said we've been together a long time. She has put up with me for a long time, and I think I've embarrassed her enough over the years, and I wouldn't embarrass her with trying to rap. But in all seriousness, I really take pride in what I have the department leaders here. I have cabinet members here. I really take pride in what you've been able to do. We reinvented the offshore recruiting and restored staff from the 1990 levels in unprecedented levels of police officers, 150 officers hired this year. We should be very proud of that. Everyone pitched in to get the culture we wanted. We built from scratch the care department, which is going to be what new policing will be all about. Seattle is the largest city in the country with this kind of model and with the contract currently in front of the city council. And I want to take pause to recognize the city council members here for their fine service, that we will unlock the true potential of what a public safety paradigm shift really looks like. We championed the dual public health and public safety approach has led to more than a 25% reduction in fatal overdoses in Seattle. We are literally saving lives. We invested over $1 billion in affordable housing, and we're set to spend, because of the generosity of the voters, $1 billion throughout the housing levy. And under our administration, we created, opened, funded, and preserved over 8,000 units of affordable housing. We should be proud of that work. This is the work that you did. We restored hundreds of parks and playfields and sidewalks and public safety, public spaces, and reduced encampments by 80% while investing and helping thousands of people move into shelter, increasing the number of people from moving from shelter to housing by 50%. This is the work that you all did. It was not about me, and it's never been about me. When voters this year committed to making the same level of generational investments into the Every Child, $1.3 billion Every Child Ready initiative, every child that goes to Seattle Public Schools, like Jimmy Buchanan and me, hardheads at Garfield High School, who didn't have a lot of means. Every one of these kids now, Jimmy, will be able to go to school 2 years from college because of the work you all did. 4,500 slots for child care and pre-kindergarten slots. We brought downtown back from life support. We brought the waterfront to fruition. We rewrote the tax code, giving 90% of Seattle's small and medium businesses a tax break. We passed nation-leading building emissions performance standards and took climate action that ensures Seattle will continue to be recognized as a climate leader in this world. That's the work that you did. We won the right to host the 2026 FIFA games and delivered to the major baseball leagues one of the most memorable all-star experiences they've ever had. You all did that work. It was never about me to begin with. I'm very, very proud of the work that you put in. When we talk about pedestrianizing certain areas that have not been pedestrianized before, look at Pike Place Market. Look what we're trying to do, reimagining, for example, what our downtown will be. That is the work you did, and it was not my vision alone. It was your ideas that pushed us, said, can we do this? Can we do more? We've reimagined what the Seattle Center will look like with Memorial Stadium. I'm looking people in the eyes because I'm thanking them with my mind, by the way. I'm thanking them with my mind, because when we talked about Memorial Stadium, we thought bigger than that. What can that whole campus that put us on the map in 1962, what can that look like moving forward in the future? That is our legacy. Not my legacy. That is our collective legacy. Thank you, my team. Thank you. I said earlier, I am honored to serve you. It is my honor to be with you. But that's work that we've done and the work that's in progress. Let's talk about the future. The Wilson administration will have new ideas. They will have a new vision. By winning the election, they have earned that right. We must listen to the young voters. We realize that when I had won in 2021 to this current election, there were 12,000 more ballots of people who voted. New people with new ideas. There were over 15,000 new registered voters. The young people believe their voices are not being heard. They're seeing due process violated. They're seeing a throwback in history of this country that we love, a throwback into racism and unfairness. We have to listen to these young voices. While it is very seductive to stay in campaign mode and look at the Wilson administration from a competitive lens, I will not do that. I believe in my heart, and this is one of the few times in going on 4 decades I will speak for my wife. I believe in our hearts that they want the same thing: fairness, justice, peace, equity, equality. They're going to fight for safety. Their administration will fight for educational opportunities. They will fight for environmental sustainability. And I pray that they are fighting with love. If there's one legacy that I want to leave, is that I tried to leave with love. My humor is a form of love. That wasn't a joke, Jada.
Okay.
Many people grew up with me, and I haven't changed. I used to say that in Little League Baseball. That through pain, Nate, through pain, you got to smile through it.
Yeah.
As I said to my cabinet, I'm known to crack jokes at funerals. That's when you need it the most. We're going to be fine. The city's going to be fine. Why? Because of all of you. All of you. So there's a few folks I'm going to thank, and I'm going to get in trouble here because I only scribbled a few names, and I didn't know all of you, Don Mason, were going to be here. So I'm going to thank you, just because you're. But I want to say, I'm going to say, Marta Johnson, we've
right
just
there.
fallen in love.
Yay,
Marta, thank you. And Nicole Munoz Casadulk, I want to say thank you, Nicole. We love you so much. You are my new adopted daughter. And many, many volunteers, quite frankly, too many to name, but know that you won't be getting Christmas presents from us, but you have our sincere love, very sincere love. I'm going to embarrass some people, but this is my swan song. I could do that, right, Markham? I can embarrass people during this? Okay, Markham said I could. Christian Centerman, I need to thank you, my friend, because Christian doesn't like attention. I've relied on Christian for 16 years, and you are a good person. You are a person of high integrity. You have a North Star that no one should ever question. I'm getting a little emotional. Thank you, my friend. My spokesperson, Jamie Housen. Where's Jamie? I love to argue with Jamie because they stop, and then 5 minutes later you forgot we were arguing, and I can't even remember who wins the arguments half the time. But you are nothing short of brilliant, my friend, and you have a promising career in front of you no matter what you do. I want to thank you for being my friend, being my son. I love you very much. Thank you, Jamie Housen. And I'm going to just start rattling off some names here. Andrew Meyerberg, you are smart and hardworking. Thank you, Andrew Meyerberg. Tiffany Washington. I'm going to mention 3 in one breath here. Tiffany Washington, Natalie Walton Anderson, and Adia Emery. And the reason I mention them in the same breath is I called upon them. Can you raise your hands wherever you are? There you are. Yeah. I call upon these 3 people to take some of the most difficult work, difficult portfolios, public safety, housing, transportation, figure it all out and make our city safe, clean, make it allowable to everyone, whether they are handicapped, disabled, whether they are without shelter. Do this difficult portfolio in the manner of love, and I need to thank you. Hamdi Mohammed, I love you. Where are you, Hamdi? I don't know where Hondi is. But someone said in a cabinet this morning, they said, you have a secret gift, Harrell. You see people. Jennifer Childs said, I love you, Jennifer. She said, you see people. And I do recognize talent. And along those lines, I want to thank Hamdi. I want to thank Greg Wong and Tim Burgess. Thank you very much. Tim is the butt of a lot of our jokes, by the way. Tim, I love you so much. Where's Tim? There's just a lot to work with Tim. There's a lot of material there, Tim, and it never ends. And I'm sorry, but Tim and I came in as politicians together in 2007. We won in 2008, and he's been a dear, dear friend, and I value you so much. And I can't commit to not joking about you when I leave the mayor's office, but I need you to know how much I love and respect you. Thank you very much, Tim Burgess. Jeremy Rocca and Jennifer Samuels, I'm going to say in the same breath because I see Jenny here. I know Jeremy Rocca's in New York, but you've been with me since 2007, 2008, and I can't thank you enough when we were on the city council. Dan Eder has just become a friend who's, where's Dan? I can't, Dan, of course Dan would be sitting in the back. Of course he would be, because he never wants attention. But he is such a strong, smart person who I love dearly. And I have to tell you, in our workplace, we literally tell each other we love each other in a very HR appropriate way, by the way. But we express that, and Dan knows how much I love and respect you. Krista Valdez probably didn't think I was going to get her a shout out, but I had to, because she's one of the people that I actually talked into working for our administration, and she has just been, I can't tell you, you went beyond. I had high expectations for you, and you went beyond those expectations, Kristen. I can't thank you enough. Miss Barbara Jarrett, where are you, Barbara? I got to call you out. I think many of you know Miss Jarrett was my high school teacher at Garfield and taught me a lot about black history, and was a graduate from Seattle University. And every single day I walk into the office, and by the way, I have a lot of city employees for you. I'm going to come back to this, Barbara. I have to tell you that I have to issue one more executive order before I leave office, and I will be mandating 5 days a week for every city employee till December. No, I'm just joking. Don't you? Press, I was a joke. Press, I was joking. Getting back to Miss Jarrett. Every single day we walk into the office, you greet us with a smile. A warm smile, and that's how we start off today. And as I said this morning, I'm going to say it again, and we always tell our children two very simple lessons in life. In a workplace, be delightful. Be delightful. And number two, always be the first one to speak to someone. And my staff will say, I say, now what's that person's name? I'll say, Mike. Hey, Mike, nice seeing you again. Mike, how are you? The people that work in our office, they know how much we love one another. And it starts with a smile every single morning. I'm going to get in trouble with this, but I don't care at this point. Joy Hollingsworth, I got to call you out. Joy. Well, the applause says it all, Joy. You know how much I love you. And I'm counting on you. I'll just put it that way. Enough said, okay? And because you have 8 colleagues, I'm counting on all of you, by the way. We still have a budget that's being deliberated. We have some legislation we're considering. But Joy, you're very special, and I just wanted to say that publicly. Now, there are some of you who I didn't mention by name. I will talk to you. It's just because I want to have a little fun with that. There are community leaders here, people from the philanthropic circles, from business circles, from neighborhood circles, consultants. You are here because someone's probably paying you. No, I'm just kidding. I got to have fun. You know, I've had fun with this job for 4 years. You do know that, right? You're here because, again, it was never about me. It was always about the city. It's always about the people in the city. It's always about this country. I've said this before, and I believe this with all of my heart, that the answers in this country will be found here in Seattle. Everyone here, regardless as to what demographic you choose to claim, you care about race and social justice. You care about it. You care about climate change. You care about education. I know that for a fact. We may have different approaches on how we want to get there. And I say this loudly for the Wilson administration. We may have different tactics on how to get there, but I believe our core values are the same. And I cannot say that in other states. I cannot say that in other cities. I can say that from someone just born 8 blocks from here. I can say that about the city of Seattle, that you care about these things. And that is the One Seattle concept. I know people wanted to say, well, where was I going with this concept? It's going to the concept that above all else, we will focus on what we have in common. We cannot be defined by our differences. We could celebrate our differences only toward the path toward commonality. That's what differences do. And because my opponent and I might have had differences, I will focus on the next several years on what we have in common. And if we focus on that, we will all win. There are no winners and losers in the game of politics, the way I look at it. It's a continuum. Seattle will be fine. I will make sure of that. I'm not retired. I'm not going anywhere. So to close, I'll say this, and I'll respond to a few questions. I'm going to be asked 100 times, what am I going to do? What's next for you? What's the next chapter? So I want to say this right now and show a little vulnerability here, but I have to get it out, Jimmy. I have to get it out. I'm thinking about pursuing an acting career, coupled with a singing career. Singing with the little rap. Amar, I got a vision of taking a little Earth, Wind, and Fire and put a little something on top of it. Is where I might be doing. I'm going to be known as Master B. Russi. My Master B. Russi. When you see me, call me Master B. Russi. Not exactly the reception of my new name I was hoping to get. Now, how many of you are seeing how Bruce is spelled, right? You're with me, right? Because it's not supposed to be funny. It's B. Russi. In all seriousness, I haven't written my next chapter yet. And many of you know I'm a man of faith. He writes our chapters. I will hit my knees with my wonderful wife, and we will figure out what our next chapter is, but we will know it will be based on incredible energy and love for this city and love for all of you. Our granddaughter, our youngest granddaughter, Emmy, we had to have some family get-togethers, and we said to her, well, how do you feel, Emmy? And she was happy. So you know I lost the election, right? So, well, I'm happy. She says, I'm happy because I get my papa back. That's what she said. Yeah. And we had to miss a few things that I don't like missing because you can't get that time back. So if my rapping and singing career don't pan out, we will still be here serving you because you mean that much to me, to us, and we love all of you that have taken this journey with us. Thank you very, very much. So, yeah. I will, please have a seat. I will take a question or two if there are some to have. I want to recognize Pastor Carrie Anderson. I would love to recognize. This is my pastor right here. Thank you for being here. And Guy, who's my mother's very close friend, Guy Chan, I want to thank you for being here. Many of you know Guy's late husband, Matt, who was a trailblazer in his own right, and you've been such a, you're like another mother to me, and you're very close to my mother, and I can't thank you enough for being here. So, are there any questions I'll take? Yes, Brother Lynch.
Mayor, thanks for your service to the city. Obviously, your accomplishments, I think, very notable. Is there anything that you would have done differently in your administration or in your campaign?
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. Is there anything that I would have done differently looking back? And, you know, that's a fair question. I think I'll go crazy if I put too much energy behind that, because this is a big job. And how we make decisions becomes critical. You make your decisions by talking to people first, getting various perspectives. You do the hard research, you look at best practices. You check your gut, your North Star, what's right. And then you make your decisions. And if that didn't create the outcome that you want, that was still the right decision to make. And then you make another decision and you adjust. So I can't say I should have implemented a policy or made a decision that I would have changed. It's a fair question, because I don't walk through life that way. I'm sure it's good for political fodder to think about that. Maybe I should have done this, but I just don't put a lot of energy there. Energy is sort of a weird thing. I try to keep it in a positive way. So I don't have a good answer for you. The fact is that hindsight is what? I got a smart audience here. So that would require that kind of hindsight. So I'm going to move on. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, being that this race is so close, can you talk about how you made the decision to concede? Why? And is there plans for any kind of recount moving forward?
Yeah, so to be candid with you, Sebastian, a lot of people are saying that I shouldn't concede, and that there were anomalies and differences. This is a incredibly high voter turnout, and it was unexpected at these numbers. But I looked at the numbers, thought it was appropriate to concede, and I'll let others worry about that. I wanted to bring to my cabinet some closure. The numbers now, I think we're less than 2,000 votes, and so I have other people worried about revotes and all that other stuff. I'm not going to personally weigh in on that. The fact is that it continues to be a close race, but I'll let other people sort of make those decisions. I'm not weighing in on that right now. I'm not in a position really to answer it. I probably have consultants around here to answer that question. I'm just trying to, I have, by my estimation, another 6 weeks to run the city. We're going to run through the tape and be the best administration we can, and we'll let other people figure that out. I'll come here and I'll come here. Okay. Aaron Allen.
And this is hypothetical, Mr. Mayor. But once you rest, get your thoughts together, are you going to stay in politics?
So the question is, once I rest and get my thoughts together, will I stay in politics? You know, well, there's yes in this sense. The other question, will I run for another office? I'm sorry?
Less than acting and rapping.
If the acting and rapping, yeah, don't sell me short on my acting and rapping now, Nate. We haven't, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little time, put things in prayer, and we'll make some decisions. So I haven't excluded anything. The fact is, let's see, this is my third speech today, so I can't remember, did I say this earlier today? Or did I just say it? In 2019, I gave a great speech right in there. It was a retirement speech. Right in there. It's one of my best speeches. I have the tape. And I said, you know, I'm likely not to come back in City Hall. And now here, 16 years later, I'm still here. So I don't know. I mean, that's just the honest truth. The fact of the matter is, in 1979, this wasn't in my speech, but you prompted the question. In 1979, I came to City Hall. I'd just gotten my college degree, and you couldn't tell me much. I got my political science degree from the University of Washington, and I went up to City Hall on the city council and knocked on the door and said I'd like a job. And I talked to the first black city council member, Sam Smith, and he had a chief of staff, and ironically her name was Florence Harrell, my aunt. And Constance Rice, who's over here, I want to publicly thank your husband. Your husband, Norm Rice, is on the city council. And Greg Nichols worked in that office. And Tom Rasmussen, former city council member, is on staff. I want a job. Well, what's your experience? I don't have any. They said, we can hire you for 6 weeks. I don't know if Lynn Ruth is here. Lynn Ruth hired me for 6 weeks. She still works for the city. I'll take it. I didn't even ask what it paid. I just wanted that job. And then after 6 weeks, they said, well, we found some more budget for you. Another 6 weeks, another 6 weeks. That turned into a couple of years. And I said, you know, I'm going to run for city council and likely mayor someday. That was a life-changing experience for me. And I learned one thing out of that story, is that I never predict what I'm going to do in a year or 2 or 3 from now, in that sense, because politics are weird, and so we'll just see. That's how things happen sometimes. So I saw Omari.
Mayor, this big enterprise for the city of Seattle, like some people growing into smaller enterprises and departments and cabinets. This has been, at least what I've seen, cabinets had the most black faces and people of color on the cabinet. And now looking back at your tenure here as mayor, what do you think are your biggest accomplishments with the cabinet that you chose to lead these different departments in the city?
So now I'll repeat the question, my answer. What I am most proud of is that in the world where we are questioning diversity and equity and inclusion, that we had the most diverse executive team and cabinet. It wasn't because they were diverse, it was because they were the best. And that being a biracial black man, I didn't have any prejudices going into an interview process. I look for life experience. I look for heart and grit and tenacity. These people that I hired are just awesome. And I pray that other administrations and even the Wilson administration understand that. What I've said repeatedly in many of my political careers is that when you grow up biracial, I don't make any assumptions about anyone based on skin color. I didn't know where I fit into that conversation. So if I looked at someone, if they were black or white or Asian or Latino or Native American or whatever, however they identified, I had to go right to their heart first. Are they a kind person? Are they a hard-working person? And so I'm very hopeful that we set a standard, a bar, in the context of the national discussion. Trump has this all wrong. He has his mentality on this discussion is all wrong. That all people who identify as being diverse, they do not want special treatment. They do not want handouts. They want an equal opportunity to compete. And if you give them that, if you give them that, they will take it from there. One of the reasons why I've tried to be a strong LGBTQ+ supporter in my tenure is that I know what it's like to be othered. I know what it's like to walk around sometimes with your head down, feeling less than. For me, that is what the experience of being underrepresented is about. And if there's one thing that I take pride in, and I don't care what they say, what they write about me, I know me. And this person who has known me since I've been 18 years old, she knows me. That I'm not a cruel person. I'm not a bigoted person. I'm flawed like many human beings. But I try to lead with love. And the cabinet that we put together was based on love, based on an insight that these are good people. And they come in all shapes and sizes and even ages, Tim Burgess. They even come in ages, Tim Burgess. That's the lesson of Seattle. And I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that. And I hope and pray that that continues. That is why we are special here. And to your question, I think a question back, that I would never change. That I would never change, how I try to see people. We'll take a few more questions. Yes, Jonathan, Joe.
Could you share some of that if you did? If there's one policy that the whole current administration carries on of wars, what would that be?
The question is, what advice would I give to Mayor-elect Wilson? And if there's one thing I want her to continue, what would that be? Well, that is a very tough question. I may have to call on my spokesperson for that one, but I'm not. Okay, I'm going to go with education. Well, you know, that's actually, so I'm going to take education, I'm going to go toward economic development. They both start with these. Education is so critical with this levy that you all just passed. That's a game changer for the city. Absolute game changer. That is a game changer for this city. We have jobs that people can be trained in. We have apprenticeships in the port and maritime industry. We have folks that go into high tech or biotech. Education, yes, they have to double down and triple down in education. I know there was a lot brought about my opponent's education background, all that stuff. Put all that stuff to the side. Education is going to be the equalizer for all of us, and so I want to see double down. And the reason I said I want to morph it into economic development, because at the end of the day, this mayor and no mayor will be able to automatically dictate that $1.2, $1.3 million house in Seattle and make it come down to $400,000 or $500,000. That's out of the pay grade. So what we have to do is do everything possible to get it down through permit processes, through money and investments, and build aggressively. Yes, we could do all that, but at the same time, there has to be economic development. There has to be jobs for everybody. We cannot lose jobs here in Seattle, and they have to understand that. That our policies, they say, well, he likes business. I like jobs is what I like. I like whether it's the CEO or the janitor or everyone in between, we need those jobs here in Seattle. We have to realize that we cannot take economic development for granted. And I want to give a special shout out to Markham McIntyre, who's been absolutely phenomenal in this space. A phenomenal leader in what he's done with Seattle Restored and the Liberty Project and the Capital Access Program and a Business Community Ownership Fund. You didn't think I knew all that stuff. The stuff that you've done has been nothing less than phenomenal. So education and economic development, and public safety is the equalizer. And the reason why we ran on a public safety platform isn't because we want cops everywhere. You know, Boston, I think their ratio is like 3 to 1,000. The ratio I was shooting for is 1.9 to 1,000. We try to calibrate, look at best practice, what makes sense in a city. But I want everyone to feel safe. Even the person that could be harming themselves, I want them to get help if they're killing themselves with drugs. I want people committing crime and threatening others to be arrested. It's as simple as that. Politics get very simple when you boil it down to the basics. So I want them to continue emphasizing keeping people safe. And yes, the care department is a best practice. So whatever that public safety ecosystem looks like, Jonathan, I want to keep that. So my answer is threefold: education, economic development, and public safety. Thank you for the question.
You adequately understood how much people were struggling with affordability in Seattle? That's one of the most expensive cities in the country.
Yeah. I'll repeat the question. Do you think I understood adequately how much people are struggling in terms of affordability in the city? And I'm going to assume your position is coming from a good place, because we don't struggle with affordability. I think people know that. And by the way, we work very, very hard. I got to put that out there. We work very, very hard. So let me answer your question directly. You don't mean this to be offensive? No. Hold up. No, you don't. Bear with me. But to some extent, it's almost an offensive question. And let me tell you why. Because you don't know the scars that I had working with a mom and dad who did not go to college. You don't know the scars I had when I said when I was in high school, one reason why I worked so hard to get an athletic scholarship as a football player, because I knew my mom and dad couldn't afford to send me to college. That in high school, I was weighing about 200 pounds. I had an older brother, and all of us shared just one bathroom. And when you're the youngest, you get the short end of that stick, my brother. So the pain that people feel right now is nothing I have to read about. I spent an inordinate amount of time in neighborhoods talking to poor people. My wife worked for United Way. She's been in the Health and Human Services. She was the CEO of United Way. We have dedicated our life to helping poor people, because that was us. And so if you look at all of the policies that we've done, I always tell people, look at the 1,300 pieces of legislation that I proposed to pass. It's designed to uplift people from the roots of poverty and being underrepresented. So they've always had more than my ear. They've had my attention and my energy. If they didn't feel that way, it could be because people were trying to attack us and say we didn't get it. But we get it, and we will continue to get it. We spend an inordinate amount of time in communities, both donating money, mentoring people, talking to people about how to be better. Because Joanna and I, we could have been statistics. Our paths to being the first lady and the mayor were not easy. So yes, I think that we understand the plight of poor people. Okay, so I'm gonna Hamdi, I gave you all the shout and all the love, sister. You missed it. Your friends will tell you about it. Godwin, thank you for being here, my friend. I love you all. Thank you for allowing me to serve. And for the last time you're going to hear me say this, no, you probably are. One Seattle. Thank you very much.
Mayor Bruce Harrell being very gracious in his concession speech. The speech lasted roughly 52 minutes, thanking a lot of people that worked for him in the campaign, talking about what he is or is not going to do next, but always bringing that sense of humor to these press conferences. He tends to do that a lot when he's being real. And sometimes during the debates, we didn't really see that Bruce Harrell. We saw a very mission-oriented candidate, trying to point out the differences between him and Katie Wilson. I think you saw the real Bruce Harrell there.
And I feel like he admitted to us all that this was a painful moment for him, because he talked about how you need to smile through those painful moments and followed that up with saying, we're going to be fine. When he says we're, he was talking about everybody in that room. Hannah Kim was out there, and she was telling us before he even started speaking, oh, we noticed everybody in this room. This is everyone from this city. That giant crowd you saw, yes, there were journalists there, but for the most part, those are the people that do those Monday through Friday, 9-to-5 jobs that are trying to carry out the tasks and take that mission that he had, that mission-oriented goal, and try to put it into place for the city of Seattle. So obviously, a lot of pain, as he referred to it as his swan song.
He campaigned hard. I mean, he did every debate and every public appearance that was asked for him. I was sort of surprised that nobody asked the question about the homeless situation in Seattle, because there are more homeless people now than there were when he took office 4 years ago. And Sandeep Kaushik said that their polling showed that was a major issue for Seattleites. They were unhappy with the number of people still in the streets using drugs, and that it seemed like people had been pushed around, but that it really, the problem had not been handled, and that might have been one of the reasons people voted for Katie Wilson, just looking for some kind of change. Let's go out to Hannah Kim, who's at that press conference, for her reaction. Hannah?
Yeah, so David and Matthew, you know, we've been talking about this for the last 24 hours, speculating whether or not, you know, Mayor Bruce Harrell was going to concede today, and there was a lot of signs for that. For one, we started talking about it after last night's election drop, when he was trailing her by nearly 2,000 at that point, but also is because when we reached out to his campaign last night, they said, hey, we were going to have more answers for you tomorrow at this event, and so there was a lot of speculation. And I'm going to, you know, you heard his speech, so you heard a lot of those details, I'm sure you know, but also I wanted to share with you that right before this event and we started talking, this area right here behind me, it was packed with people, and I started to see almost all of the Seattle City Council members, everyone almost in his administration, and at that point I realized this has to be a concession speech, because you're not going to have that kind of a show if it wasn't a concession speech, if it was just maybe a policy decision or an announcement. Also, you can't see it from this vantage point, but I could see the people that work in City Hall, they were upstairs looking down and listening to his entire speech, and there were moments that there was a lot of emotions. It was really palpable here. I saw this woman right next to me. She's somebody that's worked, you know, with city programs a lot over the years, and she, you know, wiped away tears as Mayor Harrell was up there thanking everyone, and he took the time, as you heard, to thank very specific, crucial people in his administration. But hey, he just could not do it. He's, again, another one-term mayor in the city of Seattle. And when asked, hey, would you do something differently? He didn't really have an answer for that. He says, I don't like to, you know, go down that road. But he did try to talk and highlight a lot of his accomplishments. And one of those two things that we have to recognize are, you know, these ballot initiatives that just passed, and it was something that he pushed. It was the education levy. We're talking about $1.3 billion over 6 years. That's going to allow for, you know, K through 12 resources, as well as 2-year free tuition. And then, of course, you have the B&O tax, where he is going to increase major taxes on large companies at the same time to generate money for the city budget. Katie Wilson has a hard job ahead of her, because she is adopting a budget deficit of around $140 million. And the question is, how is she going to plug that? We do have the B&O money that's coming that was just approved, but also she has a lot of big ideas about, you know, free social housing and a lot of other programs. She is more progressive and more aggressive when it comes to that. So the question is, how is she going to plug that money? Where is that money going to come from? So as we move forward, those are the questions that we will be asking of Katie Wilson. As we know, she will be holding a 2 p.m. press conference. I think that her people, they knew that this was coming, that he was going to concede, and so I think that there could be a lot of policy questions for her moving forward. But again, Mayor Harrell conceding today, and he says that he does not plan to ask for a recount. Back to you guys.
Hannah, I want to talk about the election results right now. You have followed this very closely. I've seen you doing math, trying to figure out the votes. Right now, there is an automatic recount as the votes stand now, because she's not ahead by 2,000 votes. I think there's a couple of dozen votes she's missing. Are you predicting or expecting that she will get those votes, so there will be no automatic recount?
Yeah, as As of right now, where the numbers stand right now, it is not triggering an automatic machine recount. Of course, there were some questions yesterday, and I talked to the King County Elections Office about this. I said, hey, is there any way that a recount could happen? And they said, well, it would have to be in favor of him by a lot. All those challenge ballots, there was about 1,300 challenge ballots that they would have to cure. But it would have to go so heavy on Bruce Harrell's side. But, you know, as you know, David, a lot of people behind the scenes were crunching the numbers. You know, Mayor Harrell's office was doing the same, and he even said it himself. He looked at the numbers. I just don't think that he thought it was worth it. Even if there was a recount, he clearly believed that he has lost this race. And you heard him congratulating Katie Wilson and saying that he would be cooperative and that he says the voters have spoken. And he specifically talked about progressive young voters. And he said that those people came out to vote, and those people voted for Katie Wilson. David, Matthew?
Hannah, we actually got a statement from the King County executive-elect while this was going on, noting that this is the first time we've seen elected leaders at the same time. One thing that I was taking note of there, we're talking about a lot of institutional knowledge, so there is a challenge ahead, and you even heard Bruce Harrell there say he's not going anywhere, he's not retiring. What did you make of that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing that he said, and I think that somebody also tried to press him on that some more, saying, are you going to run for politics? And he said, look, I'm going to take the time, enjoy the free time with my wife. But he didn't say no, from my recollection, so it almost as if he left that open. He did say that he is going to be around, so for what it's worth, I think that, you know, maybe we will see him again, maybe we won't, but it was definitely not a for sure no, I'm leaving politics for good, I'm leaving Seattle. So there's that.
Hannah, people who have been watching this election might wonder, how did Katie Wilson pull this off? Did that young vote, did social media play a big role in this election?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, David. You know, one of the things that I think that one of the reporters was trying to get at here, they asked this question of, like, what would you have done differently? And as we said, he didn't really answer that question. But looking back, if you were working on his campaign, the question is, why did they not focus a lot on social media? As you know, that's where the people are, especially young voters. And what Katie Wilson did very, very well at the end of the campaign was there were some controversies that she was caught up in. For example, the fact that she was getting help from her parents, right? Her affluent parents, and giving her child care money. And that was at first a negative thing against her, but she was able to turn that around by going on social media and saying, hey, look, yeah, I get money from my parents. That's how expensive Seattle is. And she directly spoke to people and the voters, and that is free, right? So that's what's shocking about this race, is that he had a lot more PAC money than her, nearly $2 million. And they went the traditional way, and they did hit hard towards the end. But she was able to awaken voters, I believe, that maybe would not have been paying attention in previous years, and they did this year.
Reporting live in the field for us on this momentous day. Of course, we do want to continue our coverage now with Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman.
Yeah, she's going to be covering Katie Wilson when she takes to the microphones a little bit later in a press conference. And so, Allie, you've talked with Katie before, but we learned that Mayor Harrell has called her to concede. Do we know anything more about what her reaction is going to be today?
So far, not as of the hour. I mean, I've been in constant communication with her throughout the day. We are here at the Seattle Labor Union, or the Seattle Labor Temple in SoDo, where we do anticipate hearing from Katie here in the next, maybe, what is it, within the hour. And this is where we're going to learn a little bit more about what her transition is going to look like. I think everyone wants to know what her team is going to look like, who is going to be the deputy mayor, chief of staff, all of these key players. You know, how is she going to staff? Are we talking more progressive, as she's a self-proclaimed socialist, or is she going to try and balance out who is in her staff? We know that council, you know, big shakeup there. Alexis Mercedes Rink, definitely also another progressive there. So this is still a pretty much different political landscape for the city of Seattle. I mean, this has been a big week for Katie Wilson. You were talking with Hannah there about what actually changed the landscape for this political position for the city of Seattle. And it's not so much the social media, but according to our political analyst, well, he shared with me, not only did she find the right message to share with voters, especially those younger ones, as we are talking about social media here, but she was also able to come across across as authentic, very relatable. We know that Mayor Harrell actually stood by the traditional television ads, and we know that both sides had independent ads that attacked each other. But Sandeep actually says that, our political analyst says that Mayor Harrell actually may have struggled a little bit with the messaging, you know, how they were structuring his campaign. Obviously, it did gain some momentum because we have these razor-thin margins that we've seen, you know, every single day. Katie Wilson just gaining ground here throughout the entire week. So, I mean, did that maybe make a difference here? It certainly did, but obviously Wilson, now mayor-elect, third woman in Seattle history, has pulled ahead. And let's talk a little bit about what we can see maybe day one, first week, first month, first 100 days from her. As we've been talking, I mean, she's obviously stood for affordable housing, this homelessness crisis. She said earlier on Monday that this is her top priority. We know that she does want to create 4,000 emergency housing units. On Tuesday, when we were seeing her gain even more ground before the race was officially called in her favor just yesterday, I got a one-on-one with her and I asked her, you know, do you foresee implementing a new tax or increase in taxes? This is a big question for Seattleites, right? How much more is this going to cost us? Where is the money coming from? And I think this is where it took me a little bit by surprise, along with maybe even some of you guys back at the station, but definitely our political analyst. As we've heard before, she's very aggressive in these taxing those multi-million-dollar corporations. I mean, she was a big architect in this Jumpstart program. So we know that this tax, you know, is probably going to keep shifting. We know that the capital gains tax is also going to make an impact here. But she specifically said as of Tuesday that she's planning to look more closely at the budget. And as Hannah mentioned, I mean, she is inheriting the 2026 budget. Council is set to approve it here within the next month. So will she make any changes on that? That's probably not going to be, she's not going to have a lot of say in that, but what we can expect is for 2027, maybe she'll start making her stamp of approval here within the city of Seattle. Results are not going to come quick. The true question here, I mean, we're talking about first 100 days, but I think the bigger question here is Katie Wilson going to be a mayor that just breaks the cycle, and will the city of Seattle, you know, give her a second term? This is a lot of questions here that we're certainly going to ask, especially from you, the voters, Seattleites, who want to know everything that is going to come our way within the next 4 years. So, of course, stay tuned. We'll have more coverage. Matthew, David?
That, of course, is coming up at 2 o'clock, so we'll hear from Katie Wilson shortly. Allie, thanks. And obviously, I think we're all going to be laser focused on what she says now because, boy, what a situation. Such a close race. She's officially now the Seattle mayor-elect with that concession, but you now know that you won the vote.